Each day, roughly 8 million pieces of plastic, or about 30,000 tons, enter our oceans, totaling some 11 million tons each year. Currently, between 75 and 199 million tons of plastic waste float in the seas. At this pace, projections suggest that by 2050, plastic in the ocean could outweigh all the fish by mass, covering 70% of Earth and producing most of our oxygen. The ocean now strains under waste that was once seen as convenient, but has become a global challenge. Today's video explores real examples of how plastic pollution harms marine life and fragile ecosystems, as well as stories that show why collective action matters for the health of our ocean and our planet. Number 1. Ocean dead zones. Plastic pollution isn't just littering our seas, it's increasingly linked to the expansion and severity of ocean dead zones in ways that are both surprising and alarming. Traditionally, dead zones, areas of low oxygen where most marine life cannot survive, are driven by nutrient runoff from fertilizers, sewage, and industrial waste. What many people don't realize is that plastics, especially microplastics, are now complicit in this process. These tiny plastics form biofilms, complex microbial communities that can disproportionately alter nutrient dynamics. Some plastics encourage nitrogen-fixing bacteria to convert inert atmospheric nitrogen into reactive forms like ammonium, while others accelerate the breakdown of organic matter, releasing excess nitrogen and phosphorus into the water. This extra nutrient load amplifies algal blooms, which, when they die, create oxygen-depleting decomposition cascades, worsening hypoxia far beyond what fertilizer runoff alone would cause. As of 2025, over 500 such dead zones have been recorded globally, covering areas larger than the United Kingdom. These revelations, that microplastics actively influence nitrogen cycles and exacerbate oxygen depletion, are reshaping how scientists and policymakers view plastic pollution, not simply as physical debris, but as a biochemical catalyst for ecosystem collapse. Number 2. Why animals eat plastic. So why do animals eat plastic in the first place? The simple truth is, they don't know it isn't food. This problem is far more widespread than most realize. Whales dive deep, but plastic has been found even in the deepest parts of the ocean, such as the Mariana Trench at nearly 6,800 meters, with up to 13,500 particles per cubic meter. When whales surface, they do so under time pressure to feed. If they consume plastic instead of prey, they risk starvation. But it's more than just mistaken identity. Plastic can physically clog whales' digestive systems, filling their stomachs with indigestible waste, so they literally cannot process nutrients. Sadly, this leads to prolonged starvation despite abundant food nearby. We cannot ignore these warnings. Each year, roughly 11 million metric tons of plastic waste enter our oceans, equivalent to a garbage truck's worth every minute, and this pollution is responsible for the deaths of countless marine animals. Back in 2017, Sky Ocean Rescue launched a 10-meter whale sculpture made of plastic, touring beaches to raise awareness. While symbolic, the art cannot match the real tragedy unfolding beneath the waves. We need to dramatically reduce ocean plastic inputs. Without decisive action, the horrifying trend of whales washing ashore with plastic-filled bodies will only escalate. Number 3. Birds ingesting plastic, and a new disease, plasticosis, in birds. Plastic ingestion in seabirds has led to the discovery of a disease called plasticosis, alarming scientists and the public. First identified in flesh-footed shearwaters on Australia's Lord Howe Island, researchers found that even small plastic fragments irritate the proventriculus, causing chronic inflammation and fibrotic scarring. Birds as young as 80 to 90 days old showed damage even with minor plastic intake, proving that a single fragment can cause severe internal harm. These scars impair digestion by shrinking tubular glands, reducing enzyme production and stiffening the stomach wall, limiting food intake. As of 2025, studies show that plasticosis extends beyond the stomach. Chicks consuming microplastics suffer multi-organ damage including liver and kidney dysfunction and neurodegeneration, mirroring protein patterns seen in Alzheimer's disease. In one case, a chick had more than 400 plastic pieces in its stomach, about 10% of its body weight, This reveals that plasticosis is widespread, affecting seemingly healthy birds and likely other marine animals. The disease represents a serious biological threat, shifting our understanding of plastic pollution from environmental concern to a trigger of chronic illness in wildlife and potentially in humans. Number 4. The whale filled with 80 plastic bags. Whales have been swimming in our oceans for 50 million years. They survived ice ages, volcanic eruptions, and countless natural disasters. They were doing fine until humans showed up. Not only have we hunted some species to near extinction, but our modern habits are destroying their hunting patterns and habitats in ways we never imagined. In June 2018, a pilot whale was found struggling in a canal in southern Thailand. The male whale couldn't swim properly and was clearly in distress. Local people tried desperately to rescue the creature, and as they were caring for it, something horrifying happened. The whale vomited up 5 plastic bags right in front of them. Despite their efforts, the whale died. During the autopsy, they found 75 more plastic bags in its stomach. That's 80 bags total, weighing 17 pounds. This magnificent creature's stomach was so packed with our garbage that it couldn't digest actual food. It starved to death while surrounded by the ocean's abundance. But this wasn't an isolated incident. Less than a year later, a Cuvier's beaked whale washed up in the Philippines. This whale had died of dehydration and starvation, and when scientists examined it, they found 88 pounds of plastic bags in its stomach. That's hundreds of individual bags. It's estimated that at least 300 marine animals die in Thailand alone each year after ingesting plastic. These whales mistake our plastic bags for jellyfish, their natural food source. They're not stupid. They're just trying to survive in an ocean we've turned into a garbage dump. Number 5. Decline in fisheries and coastal livelihoods. Plastic pollution is having a profound and often surprising impact on global fisheries and the livelihoods of coastal communities, as revealed by studies and reports up to 2025. In regions such as Peru and Ecuador, nearly half of artisanal fishers surveyed reported direct economic losses due to plastic debris clogging nets, fouling engines, and contaminating catches, sometimes retrieving more trash than fish itself, significantly cutting into incomes and productivity. In Indonesia, coastal communities like those along Sukaraja Beach face similar conditions, where nets routinely haul in large amounts of plastic waste, leaving little or no edible catch. Meanwhile, the Mediterranean has seen annual losses nearing 700 million euros from plastic pollution, including 61.7 million euros in direct fisheries costs, such as gear damage and reduced fish quality. Ghost nets, abandoned or lost fishing gear, continue to trap marine animals, creating long-term ecological and financial losses. A single ghost net can account for up to $20,000 in crab stock losses over a decade. Furthermore, microplastics have infiltrated up to 5% of marine catch, leading to declining seafood quality, reduced consumer trust, and lower market demand. Accidents like the MSC LSA-3 ship capsize off Kerala's coast further expose the economic fragility of coastal economies, where a single microplastic spill led to fishing bans and months of halted income. In many regions, the long-term damage from plastic includes diminished breeding grounds and disrupted marine ecosystems, forcing fishers farther out to sea at greater operational costs and risks. Surprisingly, many of these impacts were previously under-recognized, with most earlier studies focusing on wildlife rather than the economic harm to human livelihoods. Enjoyed the video? Before we continue, don't forget to ring the bell, share it with your friends, and hit that subscribe button if you haven't yet. It truly helps me out, and I promise to bring you even more awesome content. Number 6. Coral and shell formation disruption. Recent research up to 2025 reveals that plastic pollution, particularly microplastics like glitter, disrupts the process of biomineralization, which is essential for the formation of calcium-based skeletons and shells in marine organisms such as corals, mollusks, and sea urchins. Glitter, often made from polyethylene terephthalate, acts as an artificial nucleation surface that accelerates the crystallization of calcium carbonate in seawater. Laboratory studies showed that exposure to even low concentrations of polyethylene microplastics, as little as 5 milligrams per liter, causes corals like Bryarium violacea to form less stable, more soluble amorphous calcium carbonate rather than their usual calcite or aragonite structures. At higher concentrations, this shift intensifies, increasing the skeletal solubility by more than 7-fold. These altered crystals not only weaken coral skeletons, making them more prone to erosion, but also lead to physical damage of the microplastic itself, causing it to fragment into nanoplastics, particles small enough to be easily ingested by marine organisms. Mollusks and sea urchins also suffer impaired shell formation, affecting their survival and role in marine ecosystems. What surprises many is that glitter and other microplastics are not chemically inert. They actively interfere with marine chemistry and biology, posing a hidden threat to reef integrity, shellfish populations, and the broader ocean food web. Number 7. The octopus trapped in a cup. In December 2018, diver Paul Sigurdsson filmed something that went viral: a coconut octopus in Lembeh, Indonesia, using a plastic cup as a makeshift home. Coconut octopuses typically shelter in coconut or clam shells, but this one instead chose a single-use plastic cup. With gentle encouragement, the team helped the octopus swap the cup for a proper shell during that same dive. The footage has racked up over 11 million views on YouTube. But beyond the uplifting rescue lies a more concerning truth. These intelligent creatures are adapting to our pollution, often at great cost. Curious and resourceful, they explore debris in search of homes, and many become trapped before help arrives. Compounding the issue is ghost fishing gear. Each year, between 600,000 and 800,000 metric tons of abandoned or lost fishing equipment enter our oceans. This equipment makes up around 46 to 70% of floating macroplastics in areas like the Great Pacific Garbage Patch. As a result, countless marine animals, including octopuses, suffer from entanglement or starvation. The silver lining? National and international efforts to track, recover, and even create biodegradable fishing gear are underway. While rescues like Sigurdsson's feel-good moment make the news, they also remind us this problem is widespread, and protecting wildlife demands persistent action, both local and global. What are your thoughts on the fact that a highly intelligent species like the coconut octopus is now using plastic waste for shelter? Do you see this as adaptation, desperation, or both? Let us know in the comments below. Number 8. The heroic kayaker and trapped seals. In recent footage shot by Ocean Conservation Namibia, rescuers freed seal pups entangled in plastic debris along the skeleton coast. However, the darker reality behind these hopeful rescues is alarming. Curious by nature, seals often explore floating nets and plastic items, and many become trapped, unable to reach the surface. While heroes occasionally save them, many seals still perish before help arrives. Globally, between 600,000 and 800,000 metric tons of fishing gear, also known as ghost gear, is abandoned or lost at sea each year. This gear accounts for roughly 10% of all marine debris by weight in the ocean gyres, ensnaring seals, turtles, dolphins, whales, and fish indiscriminately for decades. It's a painful irony. Human-created debris kills marine life, and humans must intervene to save them. But there are emerging solutions. AI-assisted retrieval, gear marking, biodegradable nets, and cleanup initiatives are gaining momentum. Addressing ghost gear could drastically reduce these tragic entanglements and allow both seals and humans to coexist more safely. Number 9. Disruption of biogeochemical cycles. Plastic pollution is not just physical trash. It actively alters ocean chemistry and disrupts the marine carbon cycle, surprising many researchers. Scientists have introduced the concept of plastic carbon, highlighting that as plastics break down, they leach dissolved organic carbon directly into the ocean, influencing nutrient dynamics and microbial processes. Studies show microplastics disrupt the critical marine biological pump. Zooplankton ingest plastic-contaminated food, producing lighter or fragmented fecal pellets that sink more slowly, reducing deep-sea carbon sequestration. Additionally, plastics serve as surfaces for microbial biofilms called the plastosphere, which harbor carbon-degrading and nitrogen-transforming bacteria, altering the natural cycles of carbon, nitrogen, and phosphorus in seawater. Recent research up to 2025 confirms that these disruptions have cascading impacts. Microplastics in the sea surface microlayer can inhibit carbon dioxide uptake by phytoplankton by nearly 3%, while stimulating unusual production of carbohydrate-like organic compounds that further complicate gas exchange. These surprising findings indicate that ocean plastics don't merely accumulate, they rewire the chemistry of marine ecosystems, weakening the ocean's natural ability to absorb atmospheric carbon and undermining its role as a climate buffer. As awareness grows, the scientific community recognizes that plastic pollution is not only an ecological crisis, but it is a geochemical threat reshaping global carbon cycles. Number 10. The hermit crab death trap. Hermit crabs are fascinating scavengers that seek out empty shells, often those of mollusks, or even unconventional objects like plastic. Unfortunately, their instinctual behavior has turned deadly. On remote islands such as Cocos and Henderson, studies show that up to 570,000 hermit crabs are trapped and killed each year after mistaking plastic containers for shells. Here's how this bad cycle unfolds. A crab enters a plastic bottle and becomes trapped, eventually dying from dehydration or exposure. As its body decomposes, it emits a chemical signal that draws others seeking a new shell, but instead, they too become ensnared. This is not a unique incident. Beaches worldwide are littered with plastic debris, and wherever hermit crabs roam, similar fatal traps are forming. These small creatures play essential roles, recycling organic matter, dispersing seeds, and enriching coastal soils, yet their populations are now suffering due to human waste. The situation isn't irreversible. By reducing single-use plastics and supporting beach cleanups, we can help hermit crabs and entire ecosystems thrive again. Number 11. Loss of biodiversity. Plastic pollution in the ocean poses a much greater threat to marine biodiversity than many realize, a threat increasingly evident in research up to 2025. Nearly 90% of assessed marine species have encountered plastic, according to the Alfred Wegener Institute, with effects such as reduced reproductive success in fish and coral, and injuries in turtles and seabirds. Plastics also degrade habitats. Ghost nets kill coral and disrupt reefs, while microplastics reduce coral feeding and colony growth. Additionally, plastics transport pathogens and invasive species through the plastosphere, enabling bacteria, algae, and invertebrates to spread into fragile ecosystems. Plastic impacts extend through food webs as micro and nanoplastics impair growth, immunity, and reproduction in zooplankton, shellfish, worms, and fish. Some species absorb toxins or suffer oxidative stress, affecting predators and ecosystem services. Recent analysis by the Stockholm Resilience Center reveals that plastics now exacerbate all 9 planetary boundaries, especially biodiversity loss, overturning assumptions that plastics are inert. Economically, the damage is severe. With more than 13 million tons of plastic entering the ocean each year, WWF estimates about 170 trillion particles are afloat, contributing to roughly $13 billion in environmental harm annually. Number 12. The deformed turtle. Now, meet Mae West, a snapping turtle discovered over 30 years ago in a New Orleans drainage canal. As a hatchling, she became ensnared in a plastic milk jug ring. Trapped, she grew, but the ring remained tight around her shell, forming a permanent hourglass shape. Mae was eventually rescued by Debbie Pearson and moved to Star Eco Station in Los Angeles, where she continues to raise awareness about plastic pollution. Mae isn't alone. Peanut, a red-eared slider found in Missouri in 1993 at about 9 years old, suffered a similar fate. Now, in her early 40s, Peanut remains an education ambassador for Missouri's No More Trash campaign. These stories aren't rare anomalies. They highlight a widespread problem. Wildlife that should thrive in natural habitats are living with lifelong plastic injuries. Mae and Peanut are just the most visible faces, but countless others remain uncounted. Their experiences encourage us to reconsider our habits and recognize how small personal choices can ripple outward to affect the natural world. Number 13. Seagulls fighting for their lives. Plastic bags are causing major issues for seagulls around the world. A striking example occurred at Quidi Lake in St. John's, Newfoundland in early 2020, when wildlife photographer Michael Windsor captured a juvenile Iceland gull with a black plastic bag wrapped around its foot, struggling in flight as a bald eagle pursued it. Today, the world's lakes and beaches are still heavily littered with plastic. Seagulls frequently become entangled in debris, and many ingest it, mistaking bits of plastic for food. As noted by recent environmental reports, approximately 90% of seabird species now carry plastic in their stomachs, a figure projected to rise further. These intelligent birds, which rely on sharp eyesight and selective feeding, are being fatally harmed by our convenience culture, underscoring a persistent and troubling global reality. How does it make you feel knowing that around 90% of seabird species now carry plastic in their stomachs, and that this number is still rising? Let us know in the comments below. Number 14. Microplastics are entering food chains. Microplastics have permeated the ocean food chain, infiltrating up to 92% of fish consumed by humans and disrupting both ecosystems and health in startling ways. A comprehensive global review, published in 2025, highlights that microplastics bioaccumulate in marine species, transferring toxins and antibiotic resistance genes up the food web, posing growing ecological concerns. Laboratory analyses from Banten Bay, Indonesia, found microplastics in every fish sampled, with significant accumulation in gills and digestive tracts. Moreover, recent studies have detected microplastics not only in fish intestines, but also in edible muscle tissues, confirming direct human exposure through seafood. These particles compromise fish health and survival. They cause digestive disruption, oxidative stress, suppressed immunity, impaired growth, and reproduction. Effects documented across shellfish, worms, zooplankton, and fish. Toxins absorbed by microplastics, such as endocrine disruptors, then leach into tissue, threatening both aquatic organisms and humans upon consumption. A 2025 Oregon study found microplastics in 99% of seafood samples, with shrimp exhibiting the highest concentrations. Most were synthetic fibers capable of penetrating muscle tissue and crossing biological barriers. In Visakhapatnam, India, all 100 fish, shrimp, crab, and squid specimens tested contained microplastics in muscle and organ tissues, with linked concerns including endocrine disruption and carcinogenesis. The evidence demands urgent action on plastic reduction, stricter regulation, and continued research into long-term impacts on food safety and ecosystem integrity. Number 15. The bigger picture. It's estimated that every piece of plastic ever created still exists in some form. Conventional items like plastic bags take between 20 and 1,000 years, straws around 200 years, bottles about 450 years, and fishing lines up to 600 years to break down, ultimately fragmenting into microplastics that persist for centuries. Microplastics, tiny particles under 5 millimeters, are now found throughout marine ecosystems, consumed even by the smallest organisms, and moving up the food chain. The ocean supplies 70% of our oxygen, moderates the climate, provides sustenance for billions, and supports countless industries. Yet plastic pollution is compromising this vital life support system. On a hopeful note, companies like Loop Industries are advancing truly circular solutions. Their patented infinite loop TM technology fully depolymerizes PET plastic and polyester waste, even ocean-worn bottles and degraded textiles, into pure monomers, which are then repolymerized into virgin-quality materials suitable for food-grade packaging and textile fibers. We've just looked at 15 devastating examples of how plastic pollution is destroying ocean life, but these are just the tip of the iceberg. For every animal we've discussed, there are thousands more suffering in ways we can't even imagine. The good news is that this problem is entirely solvable. We created it, which means we can fix it, but it requires immediate action from every single one of us. Start by eliminating single-use plastics from your life. Carry a reusable water bottle, bring your bags to the store, and refuse plastic straws and utensils. Support companies that are developing sustainable alternatives. Vote for politicians who take environmental issues seriously. What's your next step going to be? Let me know in the comments below, and if this video opened your eyes to the plastic crisis, make sure to share it with someone who needs to see it. Together, we can turn the tide on plastic pollution, but only if we act now. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks for being with us. Leave a comment, like to show your support, and remember to hit that subscribe button for more exciting videos. See you next time.